Hello, my name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software. So I got a request to show you how I use Team System to do automated deployments. So I'm going to walk you through it. Now, understand that what I'm using, I'm going to show you three basic tools, right? Three tools. The first tool is the Team System itself, the Team Services. The second tool is Git, where I'm storing all my code. And then the third tool is the thing that kind of ties together the database changes into the source control system in order for the automated stuff to occur. And that's ReadyRoll from Redgate Software. And so those are the three tools. Those three tools together allow me to automate deployments between databases, between servers. So let's take a look at it. There's a lot of moving parts to this, so we're going to start off with just the most basic, right? We are in a database. We're going to create a store procedure from this script. It's very simple, very straightforward, nothing really surprising going on there. Now, here's how it works. Back here we have Visual Studio. Take a look at the solution. We've got a whole series of scripts and stuff defining this project called Movie Management. And the Movie Management project is a ReadyRoll project. And so we can see that, we've connected up the project, Movie Management. It's in ReadyRoll. We've got multiple stuff going on here, and you can connect up ReadyRoll and get it going. ReadyRoll is built into Visual Studio Enterprise, so you can get it and download it and install it if you've got that level of support. What we're going to do is I'm just going to do a refresh, and it's going to go and compare what it has in source control to what's in my database. And now it's immediately identified that yes, in fact, there is a new store procedure inside the database. I now have to import that and generate a script. So this part is all the part that ReadyRoll is playing inside the system. It is maintaining the differences between what's in my database and what is actually in my source control system. And so with this, I can capture the scripts, and in this case you can see right up here, it's exactly the script that we expected it to do. And so now it's added that script to my project through a change script back over here, and you can see the little plus sign that this has been added. So that's step one. Get code from your database into a Visual Studio project. Now, once it's in the Visual Studio project, then we're talking about working with source control. So let's right-click here, and we're going to go to source control, and we're going to commit the changes that we've got. So new stored proceed. Oops, never type in demos for video demo. All right, so now I've got this new store procedure. I've got this new project, changes my project, and the addition of this new query. So we're going to commit all, and off that goes into my store procedure, off into my code. Now that's committed locally, right? The way Git works is all the changes I make are made locally. If I want to, I can then push my changes up to my server to ensure that I've got them all the same, and it's going to identify that yes, in fact, I've got a new store procedure for this video demo, and I'm going to need to push that out to Git out in the cloud, because I'm using GitHub to manage this stuff with Visual Studio. And so now my changes have gone out to the cloud. So that is three steps that have occurred. Step one, create a query, store procedure, make changes to the database. Step two, identify the changes in the database, get them into your Visual Studio project. From the Visual Studio project, get all changes into your source control system. Those are the three steps that have occurred so far. Now, from this point forward, we switch over to Team Services. Everything we've done so far is just straight up, database management, Visual Studio, and source control. Now we're going to team services. I have here a build and deployment process that I have built in team services, and you can see that it's there. It's functional. It's got a history of changes, but we need to walk through what's going on with this. So we're going to go into the setup. Now, what I've done is I've made sure that I've got a Git repository. I've got it connected to my Git repository, and you'll need to make sure you've got that same thing. Once it's in your Git repository, that's going to manage your code in and out. It's got all the tools built in. You don't have to write any code yourself for it to manage Git. You just have to have it there and working. Now, the one thing you are going to have to do is you're going to have an agent on any server that you want to do deployments with. So I'm running all this off my laptop. So while this is team services up in the cloud, my laptop is my server per se, what we're calling my server. So even though I'm also doing the check-in, check-out on my code locally, I'm also doing the builds locally. So I've got my agent downloaded to my server, quote unquote, which is my laptop. And that's right here, and it's running. Now, there's a whole bunch of other services, stuff that you can set up, but most of it, there's not really anything that you need to do for the core idea, the core basics of everything going on. There's not much else you need here. What you are going to have to do is define your builds and define your releases. Now, my build is right here. And so the build has got a very simple process right now. Here's the definition. Which project is it going to get information? It can go to a whole bunch of different. I've got Visual Studio Team System Git is what I'm using currently. Team project, my repository, what branch is the default, and you can make changes to all this stuff, obviously. So once I've defined that, then it knows what's going on. So first thing it does is it knows it needs to do a NuGet restore and pull information from my source control system. That one's very straightforward, right? Get the thing out of source control. Next, run a build solution. Now, in this case, what I've got is my target server is my local server. My shadow server is my local server. My target database is what I'm calling development integration. So it's a test database called development integration, and then it generates a SQL package. Now, this command is straight out of MS Build. It's ready roll, again, works directly inside of Visual Studio. And so that command is just the ready roll command to make it do builds. Again, these things can all be edited. And then finally, when it is successful, it publishes an artifact. The artifact it publishes is basically a NuGet package. A NuGet package is nothing but a zip file with XML, and what's in the XML? T-SQL statements to make a build occur, right? It's very, very straightforward. And so it defines this package, and then that's it. The build runs or doesn't run automatically upon check-in of source control, and I've determined that by setting a trigger here. So I've got what I call continuous integration. Now you can do scheduled. You can have other things happen when build's complete, right? There's all kinds of additional stuff you can do, but I've got the basics. Continuous integration says enable continuous integration, batch changes while build's in progress, and so as soon as it does anything, it gets the branch and pulls that stuff out, and off it goes. And so it runs from there. So it did deploy a build 7 minutes ago. So while I'm talking through this process, it did the deployment. It did the build, and that's good to go. Now the next thing we have are releases. Now the releases is an additional step. So what we're going to do is take a look at this. And so the release consists of an artifact and an environment. Now the artifact is the artifact that was published by my build process, and the environment is the place that it's going to put the build that occurred. So if we take a look at it, it knows that it's pulling that in stuff, it's pulling in the latest version, it's doing a source alias, it's pulling in everything that I've just defined It's pulling that all together. It's a continuous deployment trigger, so it knows that it's pulling it from the continuous integration that I've set up, and then it deploys it to this environment. And the environment I've set up is just my local server, and there's properties and stuff that you can set up, and I've just done the basics. But that's it. All right, so that's the basics of how to set it up. There's a gazillion steps you could add in there. There's all kinds of added, functionality you can put in, multiple tests, multiple environments, lots more you can add onto it. But it's all about having that core mechanism of, checking stuff in and out of source control, having a mechanism of source control to do the trigger, to fire off a build, having a successful build, fire off the trigger to do a deployment, and then having that mechanism for managing the deployment between environments. That's really all it is. And so once you've done it once you've got that first setup where you're able to, capture the changes out of your database, check that into source control, and then fire off that automated build and deployment. Once you've done it once, doing it, 10, 50, 1,000 times, and automating it and adding millions of stages to it as needed, that's all actually just labor, right? It's that first time that you get it that's work, right? The rest is labor. So that's it. You've got the basic walkthrough, and now, good luck, tear it up, have a good time. My name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software.